What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. So Monday Night Raw has come and gone. We are now basically we're in NXT. Well, NXT doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of SummerSlam, but we're SmackDown away from the first ever two-night SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, which is very exciting. Great card that they've put together. The build itself, and this is something that I've consistently talked about, WWE with their the TKO component, the corporate greed, has really screwed up how they build the shows. They only had 3 weeks to build to this thing, um, and they did about as well as they could. But in terms of Monday Night Raw tonight, and everybody gets mad at me because I go very hard after AEW and some of what they do in terms of preparation and building to their shows. Um, this was very safe, kind of meh, and outside of really the Punk promo with Gunther, they kind of redeemed themselves, but it begs the question: what the fuck were they doing the week before? Where you basically they did their best to kind of dance around that issue. And then obviously the closing segment with Bron Breakker, which we need to talk about at some point. Well, this is really like the cliff notes of really what I thought big picture coming out of this episode. But, there was a couple of multi-person tags, there was a couple of segments that sort of woven things together to tie up loose ends. There was a segment at the start of the show where Paul Heyman literally was barking at Jey Uso for 15 minutes, which I love Paul Heyman, but it didn't really. I mean, he was basically said Santa Claus isn't real, which upset a bunch of people. He made a joke about Jewish people being better than everybody or something like that. More or less, it was a weird night. You had a bunch of mixed tags. You had Sheamus killing Grayson Waller in a match, and just a couple of really safe segments to get you to SummerSlam. A tag team title match where we got another El Grande Americano. So, look, yeah, am I gonna lie and tell you guys that hey, I don't think it was bad. It was pretty safe, but in the grand scheme of the fact that saying, hey, we're literally 5 days away from the first ever two-night SummerSlam starting. Am I any more excited than I already was for this show? No. They could have done more to make this at least a little bit interesting. They did do a great job, hyping up that tag match between Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed taking on Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, which, Bron Breakker is the next guy. Let's just get that out of the way. That's the first big component of this whole thing. The CM Punk, I have not seen anything to deviate from my opinion that I think there's going to be a cash in to close night one. I think CM Punk's going to get close to winning the championship, but Seth Rollins is going to return hurt or semi-hurt or whatever. They're going to do a cash in here. There's nothing to me that indicates that CM Punk is winning the world championship. And to me, if that's main eventing the show, you're not going off the air with Gunther with Gunther retaining the championship. So we'll get into that with the terms of the SummerSlam stuff. But you had multi-person tags. The opening promo with Jey Uso was just weird. I mean, I love that Jey Uso literally cursed, and he basically was like saying, "Listen, I don't give a shit. Let's do this encore bit." It was him and Heyman. I didn't think we needed to do that, especially given what the closing angle was. So that was a little bit weird. You had AJ teaming with Asuka and Kairi saying the Kabuki Warriors to take on Judgment Day, which and AJ gets a pin on Dom, which to me, I don't know about you guys, I didn't like that. I mean, maybe we all thought that AJ wasn't winning here, but why? I have this thing, and specifically on a go-home show, why would you throw Raquel and Roxanne in a match with the Kabuki Warriors? Granted, they've beaten them. And then you have your Intercontinental Championship match, which is going to be on the show. Raquel and Roxanne are facing a different team. Why would you have AJ get a win there? To make him look stronger? It's like, listen, now all of a sudden, there is no reason for me to believe that Dominic Mysterio is losing that championship on Sunday. Some people will speculate that maybe Liv Morgan does return. Maybe she does in a brace, whatever. Maybe that's something that they could throw a wrinkle in. But you just sucked a lot of juice out of a very intriguing match to me. I didn't listen initially going in. I thought there maybe was a little bit of a sliver of hope that AJ Styles could win. There was some speculation that with Dominic going down to Mexico and getting a massive reaction, and that he's going to compete at Triple Mania for the Mega Championship. That maybe he might drop the title. I have no reason to believe that. So that was an odd decision to go with that match. That being said, the match was fun. The closing sequence ruled, where AJ just tossed Kairi Sane up into the air. She did an insane elbow to the floor to take out the female members of Judgment Day, and then AJ hits the phenomenal forearm on Dominic to get the win. I was like, man, really? Like, it's just it to me, like, I'm not one, like, I understand why you have to get these people on the show, but there were better ways to do this than doing a match. And then if you were going to do the match, you had other avenues, and I understand they probably didn't want to be Asuka and Kairi Sane, but in that case, don't do the match. I understand AJ's a great wrestler, but AJ's been really fucking entertaining with this whole Dominic Mysterio like bit with him just like praying and cosplaying as like different roles, like being a doctor, being a janitor, praying to God. Like that was really what sold this feud. I understand that the wrestling aspect, we never doubted that the wrestling was going to be fine. So this was an odd decision for me on a really weird night. Actually during the match, what I really liked, they brought up Chad Gable's interview when he was at a Minnesota Twins game, where basically he was like, "Yeah, I got my first singles match at WrestleMania, even though he's not El Grande Americano, according to a lot of people." Okay, so yeah, 10-minute match, it was fine. Listen, I love me some Sheamus. I don't understand how they needed to use him beating Grayson Waller as a vehicle to, get to another Rusev match, which, listen, I thought if they're doing 6 matches each night, I honestly thought, hey, you could have done fine with adding maybe a match on each night to make it a lucky 7. But they're not going to do that. And Rusev and Sheamus is going to happen on Netflix next week. I'll say this, Grayson Waller is in unbelievable shape. He has gotten himself into unbelievable shape. I hate the way that they have dealt with, the whole him ditching Austin Theory after teasing it for basically a year that something was going to happen after they lost the tag team titles. But here we are. So, Sheamus, I freaking love and adore Sheamus. Just, maybe he should be the one to beat Dominic for the Intercontinental Championship and take it off of him. But that's probably not going to be the way that they go. They're going to probably build this to, whatever they want to do with Finn Balor. But Sheamus is just consistently, at his age, putting on banger after banger. But Rusev, gets his heat back after losing the match next week. Naomi cuts another great promo. Naomi is just so good in this heel role, and is really kind of like her absence is being felt on SmackDown because her heel work has just been otherworldly. Like, I hope she gets a long run, and it sucks because I'm going to be really conflicted. I'm assuming she's going to win at SummerSlam on Sunday against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. But then she's going to go face Stephanie Vaquer, and I love Stephanie Vaquer, and I don't know how I would call that match because I think both of them are awesome. But Naomi is just so good at this heel role that she's gotten into. So we'll see. Lyra cuts a really interesting promo where it was odd. Like she's in different shoes. She calls him her Becky Stomper. She does this little twirl. It was odd. It wasn't her best promo, but she got her heat back on Becky Lynch. If you saw clips from social media, Becky Lynch got a number did on her with the kendo stick. So that was interesting. We showed footage of an interesting video package between Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. I think Sami Zayn's winning on Saturday. I'll get more into it on why, but Karrion Kross has done some really good work, but it's really going to tell you a lot. How he loses and if he loses, if Karrion Kross is going to be staying in WWE long term. But the fact that he's gotten on 2 premium live events in a row is really saying a lot. So that's pretty cool. Um, we get an interview with Bailey. Bailey just dumbfounded and just dejected. And I love that they're playing into this, that like she says, for the first time in my life, I'm left with the loss of words. And it makes you wonder what's going to happen, because I think she's going to play a role in what happens in the Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch match on SummerSlam Sunday. Does Bailey turn heel and align herself with Becky Lynch, or does she, deal with both of them, and then whoever wins? It's like, to me, like that's another coin flip. The one thing I'll say about SummerSlam, there's a lot of genuine coin flips on this show that I have no idea where they go. We get the 8-woman tag. It was not for an inordinate sum of money, so all you people saying, hey, this is AEW booking, it kind of was. But I like that, there was at least some semblance of a story here between the 8 women involved in this match. Chelsea Green and her Secret Harvest teaming with Naomi to take on the all-star, and I mean all-star team of Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Stephanie Vaquer, and Nikki Bella. Holy crap, what a team that is. But Stephanie Vaquer gets the win with the SVB. We need to give Stephanie a new finishing maneuver. The SVB is a decent looking move, but it's not something that looks like it finishes the match. Chelsea Green is just unbelievable. Her sell of the Devil's Kiss was awesome. I loved Michael Cole. Well, actually, it was Corey Graves on commentary, basically saying, "Michael, we're married men. Let's just lay out." And noticing how funny that is when Booker T has his whole shtick there where he just goes crazy over that move, when Booker's a very happily married man as well. So that was certainly something. Good win for the baby faces here. That was expected. I mean, you fully expected that, Naomi wasn't going to eat anything, and none of those 4 women could have really afforded to lose at all. I thought maybe there might be some sort of setup to potentially, add Nikki Bella to the SummerSlam card, but I guess that's not happening. There's a chance that Nikki gets included on the show, and there's been some rumors about Brie, but Brie's now saying publicly that the reason why she has not returned to WWE is because her husband works for AEW. I call bullshit on that because, basically there's, AEW, WWE relationships, including Rhea Ripley, one of the most popular WWE stars. Her husband works for AEW. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but that we'll see what goes out. So then we get a tag team match. Well, actually, a very interesting moment backstage between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. You could see that Io and Rhea genuinely love each other, but they were having some playful banter where Io basically said, "You can't beat me and you never will." And Rhea said, "We'll see about that." So then Finn and JD, the Judgment Day, take on Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. This was a lot of fun, actually. Even though you really didn't think there was any hope in hell that the LWO was going to win this match, Joaquin Wilde is just unbelievable. And Cruz del Toro got some work into. But at the end of this match, what it came down to, El Grande Americano comes in to disrupt the match. But then there is a second El Grande Americano who comes in, and everybody wondering who that was. Psst, it's Pete Dunne. Yes, just letting the secret out there. Go look at the still photos. There was a bruiserweight dressed up as El Grande Americano. So I think what they are setting this up for, if you guys remember Imposter Kane versus Kane from like 15, 20 years ago, I think they're setting the stage to, recreate the Spider-Man meme, if you know what I mean. Where you're going to have 3 different El Grande Americanos, when the real El Grande Americano, which is Chad Gable, he let the cat out of the bag. And then you'll have Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser, who's doing a really good job. If you guys saw some of the stuff that was going on in Mexico, Ludwig is doing an unbelievable job in that. Look, guys, we can have fun with the bit, but I'm going to call it like I see it and just tell you who is who. So, still, this was an entertaining tag match with kind of a semi-predictable, kind of outside the box finish. Gunther gets a promo with CM Punk. CM Punk, where the fuck was this last week? Where he just was like, talking about his addiction to being champion, just laying it on really thick. He also dropped a "There's a levels to this kid" to Gunther. Gunther just was left speechless really after this, which is, it begs the question, like, it's almost like they were in a holding pattern last week and they were like, okay, we only needed to do this on the go home show. I felt they could have done more last week to lead to this, but they let CM Punk just walk away from that. And basically he came he came into this promo and just sort of sold it as, oh, hey, I let you win that one. It was weird, but I'm looking forward to this. Again, as I said off the top, there is nothing that came out of this segment. There is nothing from this show that has convinced me to deviate from my opinion that Seth Rollins is cashing in that briefcase probably before this match is over between Gunther and CM Punk. I don't think there should be. Like, listen, CM Punk winning. If CM Punk wins the world title, like, that defeats the whole point of the Seth Rollins story. You could play it up as saying, hey, I was hurt when it was on. So, like, but they're going to find a way, especially with how they've laid it on thick. And to me, if there's no hope that Seth makes it, there's no way that they are ending that show with Gunther walking off as the world champion. There's no way that they are ending Saturday night with that. So in that case, if you're going to go with that, you're going to probably end with the tag, which is also on the board very much as well. But I still am convinced that Seth Rollins is ultimately going to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. So then, we get Jey Uso and Bronson Reed. They had no time to do this, like literally 6 minutes. DQ. Bron Breakker absolutely obliterates Jey for the DQ. Roman gets his entrance. They clear the heels. They try to get they try to go wrap around the ring and get a spear. Roman gets absolutely destroyed by Bron Breakker. Jey gets clotheslined. Just an absolute beatdown from the monster heels, and Bron Breakker spears both of them through the timekeeper barricade, which was a sick looking visual. During this whole beatdown, Bron Breakker did a callback to that would almost seem like an ad-lib promo from 2022 in the build to WrestleMania between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, where Roman just looked at the camera. This is my camera. These are my people. This is my WWE. And it's just like, it was so well done. This was a star-making moment for Bron Breakker. I'm going to get into this at another point about how I feel the direction of what this is going for. And, we'll have to see what exactly they do at SummerSlam, because listen, I got to tell you guys, in the couple weeks really and I understand that, the baby faces got the one-upsmanship. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed with Paul Heyman by their side seems maybe more intimidating than a Seth Rollins-led group. Maybe I'm crazy for thinking that, but Bron Breakker can be a leading man. And maybe this injury, or maybe it is real, was a blessing in disguise. So, a pretty run-of-the-mill show. And the reason why I'm kind of a little bit more down on it is because, like I said, SummerSlam's 5 days away. They could have done more, but they played it really, really safe. They didn't do anything really off the top rope, as the name of the show. They didn't do anything really off the wall. They did what they needed to do in the moment that needed to happen with Bron Breakker and, Bronson Reed standing tall. By the way, they literally stole Roman Reigns' shoes off of his feet, which I'm sure is illegal, but, shoe napping, anybody? So, but yeah, we'll have a lot more coming here on the channel. Trying to figure out how I'm going to do coverage for SummerSlam, if I'm going to do some watch-alongs or if I'm going to do some live post shows. We'll figure it out. But thanks everybody who subscribes to this channel and supports the channel. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.